Hello, everyone, and welcome to episode 51 of the All in Football Fantasy Premier League show podcast. I am your host, the self-proclaimed FPL Guru, Alex Rex, and joining me today alongside Barry Stokes, I have two very special guests. One of them played his wild card this week and has already played as triple captain. It didn't go very well. It's Sandeep Hunjan. Sandeep, how are you? Thanks for joining us.
Yeah, thank you. Finally, I'm on. Took 2 years, and it could have been better. You could have put me on when I was top of the league, but yeah, happy to be here.
We thought we'd wait until you'd had a fall from grace, and you weren't in popular demand, I'm afraid. So whereas
story of my life.
This man, Callum Burnett, backed by popular demand, demanded himself to be on podcast.
My manager of the week appearance.
That's it. How are you doing, Callum? You okay?
Yeah, not too bad. Yeah, just excited for tonight. See if my gamble pays off.
The only man in our league that decided to triple captain Bruno Fernandes. I admire your boldness. That is what I must say. So this week we will cover all things the double game week that has been announced in game week 25. That I'm sure everyone has seen the posts about. We've got a couple of teams to discuss whether they're going to be worthwhile investing in or not. We've still got the back end of game week 22 to cover off, but currently in position for manager of the week is a gentleman called Martin Wheel, who also wildcarded this week. He's 1 point ahead of Sandeep, 75 points to 74. The wildcard team of Kepa and Leno as the keeper. Trippier, Shaw, Estupinian, Gabriel and Robinson was an interesting pick in defence. How much is Robinson anyway, while we're at it? He picked Anthony Robinson, who's 4.4 mil. Martin, let me know why. Just send me a message. So a very random fifth defender. Midfield, Rashford, Fernandes, Saka, Ødegaard and Matoma. Incredibly template, pretty much what everyone would have picked for in midfield, I'd have thought. And up front, Haaland, Tony and Mitrovic. So no Harry Kane was the interesting one, but that's where he's at so far, 75 points. I think we'll start here, Sandy. Third in our league, your wildcard team. Talk us through it. Talk us through the players in it and why you picked them.
Well, firstly, you kind of, even though I'm a Leeds United fan, painfully I had to put 3 Man U players in this week because firstly double game week and you got 2 home games as well, so it just had to be done. So I went for Shaw, Fernandes and Rashford. I think that's pretty standard if you were wildcarding. I know a lot of people had De Gea in. So obviously you didn't want to take De Gea out, bring Fernandes in if he's going to do a -4, so I completely understand that. But because I wildcarded, I think this was the template to really go for a Man U 3. Shaw's getting attacking returns. Fernandes is looking dangerous, especially with Ronaldo out. Before Ronaldo came to Man U, Fernandes was frightening and he was in every FPL team. So now Ronaldo's gone, I feel like it might be the same again, and it has kicked off the same way. And Rashford's just on flames, and Rashford scored 9 goals in his last, goals in his 9 last home games, and he had 2 home games this week. I mean, if I didn't blow my triple captain early on in the season, I would have definitely triple captained him. So yeah, you had to go for them. I do love a double game week goalkeeper though. So that's why I brought Messier in. Obviously, didn't quite work out for me against Forest, but hoping for a nice penalty save against Man U. And you never know, he could pull something out of the bag. And that's why I've gone for Edison on my bench as well, because he's got a double game week next week. So again, I'll have the double game week goalkeeper. Trippier, everyone's got Trippier, you have to. I like Brighton this after the World Cup break. I think De Zerbi's got them playing nice attacking football. They've scored a lot of goals, and I feel like Matoma is now the obvious shout to bring in because he's just so consistent. But you've got also like players like Solly March who are bagging a lot of goals, and you don't have Trossard, so those two will be playing all the time. Estepinian, I also brought in an attacking fullback, and I like fullbacks who get forward. And then yes, Arsenal, Saka, Odegaard. I feel like Martinelli is probably going to tail off a bit. I would be worried if I was a Martinelli owner, just because of Trossard coming in. I think Martinelli played 58 minutes last game. He's going to get rotated a little bit. He's going to get less minutes. But Saka and Odegaard, I don't think will do. And you just have to have Kane and Haaland up front, don't you? Kane's just on flames right now.
And then Nketiah as well. I think I agree. Having him in as a third Arsenal player seems to make sense with Jesus not being back, and he's playing well. And his stats wise, he looks like the most likely person at Arsenal to get attacking returns as well at the moment.
Well, I thought about bringing in like a Leeds forward because obviously we've got the double game week. So I knew Bamford would play both games because Rodrigo's just got injured and Nonto also. But the issue with Nonto is as I say, I'm a Leeds fan, so I've watched the last few games and the teams have started just to double up on him. He's getting a lot less space, which means a lot less points. And Bamford would just be a risk. He's just not got the track record. So I thought Nketiah's got a double game week next week, so I'd bring him in.
I think the only thing I would say about this, and I know we spoke about this earlier, is you've got 7 players here that blank in game week 25, and we're going into game week. We've only got 3 free transfers to use before that game week. Really briefly before we move on to Leeds, and I want to get Baz's take on your wild card as well. If that's all right, from a critical perspective, Baz. What's your plan? 7 blanks in 25. Lewis.
I'm not going to lie, it could have been a mistake. I think Botman's definitely going to go out after this game week. I'm going to play him against Bournemouth because Bournemouth can't score. And then I'm going to take him out. I might have to make some hard decisions to take out another player, maybe Estupinian, because I don't want to really blank too hard. I don't really want to play my free hit, but again, we're going to have to just see when we get to that point. But I did want to target this week as well with my wildcard just because I knew a lot of people will be triple captaining. And I feel like psychologically with FPL, if I get too far behind, then I might just go off the boil a little bit if I'm ahead. And that's why with my mentality of if I'm ahead, I'll really put the effort in. That's why I played chips earlier on in the season and then try and block everyone off. And that was kind of my thoughts around this wildcard.
Yeah, sure. No, I mean, you've got three City players and 3 Arsenal players ready to go into this game week coming for the double game week for those guys. I think if I was just going to say one thing on it, I'd have probably just not gone Estupinian or Botman, and I'd have gone for 6, because then I could have had 3 free transfers to navigate 25. I think you probably went 1 too heavy, but actually at the same time, like Brighton have some double game weeks to come and stuff. It might end up working out. I think the other thing that's quite a bit annoying for you is the teams that double in 25 are a little bit weird. So Arsenal obviously double in 25 now against Leicester away and Everton at home. Everton double against Villa at home and Arsenal away, and Everton was still sort of a bit waiting and seeing on. We'll have a look at some of their assets, I think, a little bit closer to the time after Dycheing's had a few weeks. There's no point having a look at them yet, really. I know people talking about Tarkowski at 4.2 and, is O'Neill going to be in? And then Dwight McNeil, and then looking at maybe Calvert-Lewin moving forward. And then we've got Liverpool with Palace away and Wolves at home, which are okay fixtures, but
I would usually love that.
But
I'm not going anywhere near Liverpool assets right now.
Just Liverpool they're not worth the investment, which is like a bad player again. Anyway, we'll talk about Liverpool in a minute. I will touch on those guys today in terms of statistics. And then Wolves with Fulham away and Liverpool. Now, Wolves have 2 good fixtures before this. I think they're playing Southampton and Bournemouth. But then after that, their fixtures really tail off. I'll say what they are whilst I've got on anyway as well. Fulham and Liverpool's a double game, but then they've got Spurs and Newcastle, and then they've got potentially Leeds in 28, but that might not happen depending on the FA Cup. So, do you really want to invest in them long term, Wolves? Anyway, but that's Baz. Your take on the wild card and any other points that we've thought of off the back of that.
Well, it worked, didn't it? 74 points. It's got more points than what I've got, and I used my triple captain. So. Fair play on that one. Great shout. Double Newcastle, double City defence. Newcastle, yeah. City defence. But obviously Lewis is going to be just there. He was there for a cheap option. But obviously using a City slot for Lewis. But I do agree with the Martinelli shout. I do think he's drifting off. And obviously Trossard. And he looked really good. He passes the eye test, as Scott keeps saying, and he was going to be one of my single game week differentials, to be honest. Well, not double game week for next week. And because I think Martinelli is going to probably get dropped, and I think he's going to start Trossard more. But that's obviously me just thinking that because he's looking a lot better. He's looking more dangerous. But yeah, apart from that, great.
I think just a point on the Man City. It worries me, does Man City, with what's going on, firstly, financially, how that's going to affect the players and Pep. But also, a lot of things seem to be happening at Man City. Like, De Bruyne just got dropped. Foden's nowhere near, to be seen. Mahrez got taken off early last game, and it looked like Pep was having a right rant at him. So I don't know if Pep might just drop him out of nowhere again. You just don't know. You see, that's why I've gone for Edison, and he seems to love Lewis. So that's why I've gone for them too, because I feel like they'll just play.
Yeah,
it's interesting. So we'll come back to City in a minute, because I completely agree with the point you're making. It feels like City are. This is why, for me, even with that, I felt more confident about Arsenal winning the league after this weekend than I did at any time before, because he doesn't know what his best team is. Pep at the moment, he's messing about with his defenders. He's obviously got rid of Cancelo really quite quickly. Then he drops De Bruyne, which just seems a little bit weird. No one's passing to Haaland. It's just really odd to watch. They feel like just ignoring him. And he's doing run after run, and he's getting really, really frustrated. And the player that's going to play him the passes, I mean, how many assists has De Bruyne got this season? I don't know. I'll tell you in a minute. Ridiculous. Give it to the guy who scored 20-odd goals this year instead of taking too many touches. He's weird. City are weird.
I just saw, by the way, that Cancelo, they don't get a loan fee for him. There is no loan fee, and it's just an option. It's not mandatory to buy. So it literally just looks like Man City have just shipped him out. Don't care about money or anything, because there's been a bust up.
Yeah, 64 mil option in it. 65 mil option.
Well, they don't have to take it.
Don't have to do it.
They've just got to play for free for 6 months, and they can do what they want.
De Bruyne's got 12 assists this season, off an expected assist statistic of 11, like 10.69. So he's performing at his level. And then you've got Erling Haaland, who's got 25 goals this year. The next best is Foden with 7, who also isn't allowed to play at the moment. We're talking about City. We'll come back to Arsenal. I had a structure. We've thrown it out the window already. Right. So Manchester City, double game week coming up, right? The players that seem to be playing since the World Cup, let's do from game week 17. In terms of appearances, you've got Haaland, Mahrez, and Grealish, all with 7 appearances, alongside Aki, Akanji, and Edison, and Rodri. Like, these are the guys that seem to be playing every single week. So Pep Roulette is non-existent at this very moment in time with that front three of Grealish, Mahrez, and Haaland. Anybody investing in those guys this week? Callum, you've not had the opportunity to say anything yet, because we've been wittering on.
My original plan was to bring in Mahrez this week, but after last week, I'm now a bit. I just feel so twitchy. It's just I don't know who to bring in. I'm probably going to bring in Grealish now, just because I think he seems to be in more favour, even though I don't think he's going to get as many points as a playing Mahrez would get. But I think he's more likely to play. But yeah, just with everything that's going on, it just feels like it's going to be massive changes, probably between the two games as well. He's absolutely raging. And it just seems a massive gamble.
Well, Grealish with 1 goal and 3 assists since the World Cup, with Mahrez with 3 goals and 4 assists. Seems like, I mean, Mahrez is the guy that we should all be jumping on, but now everyone's like, oh my God, what are we going to do? Haaland obviously here as well. Anybody considering Alvarez? Considering he seems to be playing maybe in a number 10 role, or up, he's quite cheap as a striker. He's 6.1. Or 6 mil striker as another option. No one's going to go there, are they?
No, there's just so many other strikers you can go for. That are going to be 100% there.
It could be someone's service. It could be someone's differential, I suppose, couldn't he? But
potentially. So if you expected goal involvement stats, so Haaland XGI is 7.2 off 7 games. So his expected goal involvement to get a goal or an assist in a game is one per game still. And everyone's talking about, Jamie Carragher, did he move to the wrong club? Did you see that? I think Haaland's chosen the wrong club. What a statement. I love that. Well, he might have done, actually, because he might get relegated for cheating.
The second worst club.
But should we? Let's not talk. If anyone's got any opinions on City's financial fair play, but please chip in. They got away with it last time with the Court of Arbitration for Sport, having the things timestamped, the cheating sods. They should have had their. That's why I was so happy when Havertz scored that winner and they lost in the Champions League final, because they shouldn't have been playing in the Champions League that season because they cheated. So they got away with it for being timestamped, and now they might not do. Speaking of Pep losing his mind, that was a game when he lost his mind. He played Gundogan at holding midfield. And he dropped like Rodri or Fernandinho for the biggest game in City's history. It does weird things, doesn't he, Pep? Defensively, Akanji, Aki, anybody else we're looking at defence-wise?
Lewis, who I brought in.
Yeah,
3.9 million starts. And the thing about Akanji and Aki, I hate, as I say, I hate centre-backs in my team, really. Because you're just hoping for a clean sheet is very unlikely, especially with Akanji. I don't think there's any attacking returns he's brought in this season. So you're just hoping for a clean sheet, really, and nothing much else.
Isn't Diaz back now?
Yeah, and I think Laporte's fit as well, and they're both just on the bench. Like their two best centre halves, their best centre back pairing is Diaz and Laporte. Really touch with Stones or whatever, maybe, because I know Stones and Diaz did really well together a couple of seasons ago in FPL. Just feels all a little bit weird. But the man that's ever present at the back at the moment is Aki and Akanji. Akanji's been pretty much ever present all season. What we had 22 game weeks, and he came in after in terms of appearances. Edison, Haaland, De Bruyne, Bernardo, Rodri, Gundogan. Where's Akanji? Yeah, he's the top defender other than Cancelo. Don't talk about that. But Akanji's played 15 games. Fair, Aki's played 15, but Akanji came a little bit later in the window, didn't he? So I think what we will say about City, and I will go to this on the Opta-Stats in 1 second when I look at the teams, is they just don't look very good defensively anyway. So I don't think I'd invest in any of them. I mean, is Triple City essential for this game week? Like Triple United was essential this last game week. Is Triple City essential?
No, not for me. No, I'd rather go triple Arsenal.
Yeah, I think it's too risky to triple up.
Yeah.
You don't know what the triple's going to be.
No,
I mean, I've tripled up, but just because I wildcarded. If I had one City asset, for example, I'm not going to take a -4 to get 3 in.
It's in terms of goals conceded, that's done it for the whole season, isn't it? Let's get back to 17. Goals conceded since mid-table. 7 goals conceded in 7 games from Man City. Since the thing, but the expected goals conceded is 5.4, which isn't great. So they're very much mid-table. And even in terms of the goals that they're scoring, I mean, Brighton are top, like Sandeep said. I mean, they've scored 15 goals in 6 games since the restart. Man United and Man City are behind them, and they've played a game more. Man United and Man City played a game more than Brighton. Man United are about to play 2 games more than Brighton since the restart. So, yeah. That City covered. I think the long story short from the questions that came in is Haaland fine, De Bruyne fine. If you want a defender, fine. But I don't think you want to gamble on Mahrez again, fine. Everyone's going to captain Haaland anyway because they're all scared that he's going to go nuts, aren't they? Is anyone right? We'll do that. Is anyone not captaining Haaland in game week 23? Anyone got? Go on.
It's between him and Saka for me.
Okay.
Haaland doesn't look, and there's rumours going around that he's unhappy and stuff like that. And I think Saka could have a good double game week, but I would say it's 80% Haaland.
I just don't think any. I know what will happen if I don't captain Haaland. He'll get a hat trick. That's just what happens when I don't captain Haaland. So he can go off in any game. He's got a home game against Villa. It's anyway. But let's talk about Arsenal. Let's do this now. We'll go back to Arsenal and talk about the options that they've got there. Looking at the statistics since the restart, if we look at expected goal involvements, Nketiah is top with 4.7. Then Saka and Ødegaard have both got 3, and Martinelli's on at 2.8. so they're not too bad at all. Actual goal involvements, Martinelli's got 3, Saka and Nketiah have got 4, and Odegaard's got 6. There's 6 of 2 goals and 4 assists. Actual points scored wise, again, for podcast listeners, the most productive, if it's going to get off the screen for me, it'd be great. The most productive is, again, Odegaard at 42 points. Would you not consider him, Sandeep, as a captain rather than Saka?
I always worry with Odegaard. Like, I guess, yes, from a stats wise, recently Odegaard might be the guy. From like the eye test, I feel like Odegaard is the assist to the assist quite often, while Saka always has chances. So if I'm definitely going to watch the matches, I think I'd have more of an enjoyable time watching Saka if I've captained Saka than I would with Odegaard. And that's the reason. But I don't think there's a particular bad choice in captaining either of them really this next game week.
You've got everyone's talking about Zinchenko, Baz, but we've got White, Saliba, and Gabriel all having scored more points than Zinchenko since the restart on the same amount of appearances. Talk to me why. Why are people thinking about Zinchenko?
It just looks better. It looks more attacking than White, who's an out-and-out centre-half, but they're playing right-back. Yeah, he can get involved with passing, but Zinchenko gets more forward, gets more involved. It makes Arsenal. Me with Odegaard, I think he's going down now. I think the Everton game, he didn't really look himself. Everton played really well, by the way, with a lot of energy. Played the Dyche way. Well, that's why I'd think I agree with Sandeep with Saka as captain, because it's past the eye test, and I think Odegaard is just he loves a pass. He doesn't love a shot. But now, when he started shooting more, he scored loads of goals. But I think he's on a downward spiral, and that's why I'm going to transfer Saka in, and obviously use my free Arsenal. Because I had a dilemma: is it Saka or Odegaard? I'm going for, and I thought I'm going to go for Saka because he passes the eye test. He looks more lively. He looks more like he's going to do something with the ball. Whereas Odegaard, I think he's going to probably pass. He's going to pass. So.
It's interesting because, to be fair, I agree with you on watching them play, but Odegaard's had more shots than Martinelli and Saka by quite a way over Saka, 19-14 since the restart. But Saka's got 6 on target compared to Odegaard's 3. So he feels like he's not very clinical with his shots, because then you think, oh, are they all from distance? But no, like 10 of them have been inside the penalty area. So none of them have been deemed as big chances by Opta, but it does. So we're also all talking about, is Martinelli going to get dropped and Trossard going to come in? They all seem relatively similar in terms of their statistics, but I think we're all pretty conclusive that if we were going to bring anybody in out of the front 3, let's say we're going to pick 3 Arsenal players right now, it would probably be Nketiah, Saka, and Odegaard. And Martinelli would be the one of the front 4 that wouldn't be included. And we probably wouldn't go for any of their defenders. They've conceded 6 goals in 6 games again since the restart. They have got a really good run of fixtures, though, Arsenal. So maybe you do want a piece of their defence still, because in terms of their top of the fixture ticker up until, and they do guaranteed play in game week 28. They'll have a single game week in game week 29, which we'll get to in a minute as well later on. Double game week, 2 home games, Brentford and City. Then they've got Villa. Then they've got the other double game week, Leicester and Everton, which is a very good double game week. Some good options for triple captaining there potentially if you haven't used it already, or if you're Dimple or Scott, who both tried to click triple captain on Rashford this week, then both didn't save their teams, and then both just ended up captaining. Well, Captain Rashford, Captain Haaland. But there you go. There's one of your other options. Bournemouth, Fulham, and Crystal Palace, and then they've got Leeds in game week 29. So triple Arsenal is just a non-negotiable for me. I've got, annoyingly, White, Martinelli, and Odegaard at the moment. So I'm trying to figure out maybe a way to get to Nketiah over either White or Martinelli. Anyway, 3 Arsenal players, lads. Would you go for 3 attackers, or would you have a defender as well, Callum? Talk to me.
Probably if I had my way, I'd have 3 attackers. I've got White, Martinelli, and Nketiah at the moment, but there's just not enough time to to move to the ideal ones before the blank game week.
Yeah,
But yeah, I'd probably have exactly the same as Sandeep.
yeah. You're happy with your Sandeep, I assume?
I'm happy with my position right now. Yep.
Baz, would you have a defender or would you go with 3 attackers?
I'm still adamant about Zinchenko. He's my new Johnny. I'm obsessed with Zinchenko. I think looking at the fixtures going forward, and obviously Arsenal have got one of the best defensive records in the league. It's stupid not to go for a defender. And also you get potential attacking returns from him. So that's why I would say I don't want Martinelli, but I've got him. I'd rather have probably Nketiah, Saka, and Zinni. That's what I would ideally want, but it's not what I'm going to get. But story of my life, really, to be honest.
I don't mind the Gabriel shouting there as well.
Yeah,
Spicy pack.
You know what's going to happen. One of Gabriel or Saliba is going to get like a haul from centre half. They're going to score one because that's what they tend to do, don't they? From time to time. Right, let's have a look quickly at Wolves. Don't want to spend loads of time on Wolves for all the obvious reasons, but they are part of the double game week in game week 25. So points wise, since the restart, we've got Jose Sarr at the top, goalkeeper, 27 points. Pedence, he's got 3 goals in 6 appearances, no assists, but he has got 3 goals. He's been the top goal scorer in that sense.
Surprising him. He didn't play, did he? Last game.
No, he
thought that was a bit weird.
Did he come off the bench though?
I don't know, can't remember.
Remember.
I looked at it and I was thinking, oh yeah, I might transfer him, and then I looked at it and he didn't play.
5.3 as well. I didn't even clock. He didn't play. I was looking at the numbers, so that's interesting. One of the other things that you could invest in for the next couple of weeks, if you wanted to, it's like we've just touched on their fixtures to start with. Southampton and Bournemouth, and then a double game week. They're pretty good fixtures. Then after that, you probably want to start shipping them out. One of the things that will be a positive though is if Fulham beat Leeds. Yeah, if Fulham beat Leeds in the 5th round of the FA Cup, then Leeds against Wolves will happen in game week 28. So you'll have a Wolves defender that will play in game week 28 as well. So that'll make it easier to navigate that game week. Like someone like Max Kilman, at 4.3, a really good enabler. He plays pretty much every single week. Now Bueno's been dropped and Aït-Nouri's back in. I know you don't like centre-backs, Sandeep, but I think if I was just going to give a bit of advice on that one quickly, I would probably be chipping into someone like Kilman because he's cheap, 4.3.
So
does a job.
I am going to buck my trend here and say I do like a centre-back from Wolves, but it isn't actually Kilman. It's Craig Dawson. He loves a goal. I know he's a bit more expensive at 4.8, but if you can afford him, I'd bring him in over Kilman. He's just so dangerous from corners and set pieces, and he has been for West Ham as well.
I don't disagree with that statement. I disagree with spending any money on Wolves if you can help it. And that's why I just think you should go as cheap as possible for your structure of your team. And I think the upside that you would get from being able to spend in that 0.5 elsewhere would be better spent across the rest of your team, going from Kilman to Dawson. Do I think Dawson will outscore Kilman? Yes, definitely. Yes, I do.
Yeah, exactly. So if you've got that 0.5 to spend, then I'd do that.
Yeah, and just keep an eye on Pedence, I think, as well. I think he's just quite a good value. I mean, if it comes down that he's fine and he can play, he's a good 2 or 3 game punt as a midfielder if you wanted to.
He played 7 minutes. He came on.
Came off the bench. It's weird that he got dropped, isn't it? That is odd.
But anyway. Wolves defense, Podence.
Yeah, fine. I agree, and just really because it is a topic in the FPL community. Just really quickly on Everton, I don't want to spend a long time on these guys at all. But because Demarai Gray's the guy getting the points, but did he even start against Arsenal? That was a quick question. Was it Iwobi and McNeil that started wide? And then they played like 3 big centre midfielders, didn't they? Gay, Onana, and somebody else.
Yeah, he got dropped.
He got dropped. So, again, you don't really want to touch that. But Tarkowski at 4.2 seems great value. And then Calvert-Lewin's too expensive at 7.9. You're going to go Tarko at 4.9 over Cody at 4.2. Sorry, over Cody at 4.9. just feels like you're probably going to get a defender in if you want to. Because
he still didn't look that clinical either. I was watching him. Didn't look that clinical either. Dominic. Yeah.
No, he's not sharp enough yet. But you know what's going to happen? He'll go on a run at some point, and you kind of want to jump on it. But 7.9 is where he needs to have a big price drop for next year, and then bring him back into everyone's thinking.
For me,
go on.
For me, I'd say probably McNeil, Myrelenko.
Okay,
them two, because obviously McNeil got an assist. Burnley to Burnley, wasn't it? Ex-Burnley. I think he's going to probably shine under Dyche.
It's a good point that he takes set pieces. Yeah, good point that he takes set pieces as well, because he was on the corner that supplied Tarko. So maybe so, but I think that we've got loads of options in midfield at the moment, haven't we? With Arsenal, Man United, etc. It just doesn't feel right. Speaking of midfielders, the top point scorer for Liverpool since the restart has been the one and only Mohamed Salah with 23 points, which is still a terrible return for 12.7 million. I've seen a lot of, and I'm going to come to you on this one, Callum, because I know you've got an opinion on this as well, because we've discussed this already. But I've just seen so many people since Liverpool had their double game week be announced be like, how do I get to Salah and Núñez for game week 25? Who do I put in my team, this, that, and the other? Why are people considering them? Over to you, Callum.
Yeah, that's really annoyed me. I don't know why you're rushing to it, because the only extra, is it not Arsenal, the extra second game? It's not a great second game anyway for a team that's
their fixtures. This is the thing, though. The fixtures are Palace and Wolves, so they're not bad fixtures. They're not bad fixtures. Like, don't get me wrong. But I just still don't understand why a Palace away game and a Wolves at home. If that was a game by itself for them, they just lost 3-0 to Wolves. Like, everyone just needs to calm down on them. But the obsession with these guys, just don't get it.
Historic bias.
It's precisely that. Is anybody here? I mean, you can be considering that, and I'd love to know why. But like, are you anyone here trying to get to a Liverpool asset for 25? Has double game week changed anybody's thinking on it?
I might do. That's where I'm at. I might do.
Who are you thinking of if you did want to?
Núñez.
Right, Darwin. Touch of the Darwins. I like this. And what I like about this, from your point of view, so I did some work on the Liverpool stats beforehand. His XG is 4.13 since the restart. 4.13 compared to Salah's 1.7. He's next for Liverpool. You know how many goals he scored off 4.13 XG? None. Which is just he's so close. It feels
it's like a ticking time bomb. It's just a ticking time bomb. It's gonna explode, and he's gonna score loads of goals. Fingers crossed. I've got him in my team when that happens, because 99.9% of the time I haven't got these players in my team when they do that, like Matoma, for example, and I'm there trying to get them in, and then I get them in, and then they're in for one game week, they do well, and then you don't hear them again till end of season, and it's like, I want to get him in, because if Liverpool plays to his strengths, he's going to be a player. But at the moment, Liverpool can't play to any strengths because they've got none at the moment. Trent Alexander-Arnold and Robbo not playing the balls that they usually do. Midfield lacking energy. Salah, Gakpo and Núñez are not hitting the world of light. So it's a struggle. But if I went for anything, I'd probably take Mitro out and put Núñez in. That would be the only one that I'd probably go for. Gakpo, maybe, but Núñez will probably be the one.
Gakpo's got the same XG as a holding midfielder and a worse XG than a left back that hasn't even played 3 full games in Tsimikas. I just don't get it. And Darwin's had 8 big chances and he's not scored anything. Is right, Sandeep, is Darwin just an overrated rubbish donkey, or is he just a ticking time bomb and he's going to be unbelievable?
It worries me. He's going to be a ticking time bomb. You can't have that many chances and not suddenly bag. He is getting in the positions. He's been a mixture of just poor finishing and just a bit unfortunate. And when he gets a little bit of luck and a little bit of confidence behind him, I feel like he's going to go on a run. But is he going to go on a run sooner rather than later for this double game week? It's again a gamble. So whilst out of all those players, I think Salah's way too expensive to gamble on. I think Darwin would be your only gamble for the Liverpool, but because Arsenal are doubling in game week 25 and you want Nketiah in your team and you can't really take out Haaland and Kane, you don't really have any space for him, do you?
So his expected points are 35.09. So since the restart at 35.09 points, it brings him in at the same level as Saka if he was actually if he was achieving those expected points and converting some of those big chances. So he's got the ability to be, a relatively consistent. It'd be the third top scoring forward, I think, behind the two we've just mentioned, Kane and Haaland. They would. So this is where, but then when we get to the expected stats for Liverpool defensively, so there's a lot of things that XG for Liverpool 10.67, only 6 goals again since the restart. Expected goals conceded, they have the worst expected goals conceded in the Premier League off less games than what other people have played at 12.7, and they've conceded 11 goals off an extra. That's the right amount of goals, near enough for them to concede. So the defense is completely ruled out.
Don't want to go anywhere near that defense.
No, especially. But this is why we've all got. This is why we've got this. He completely agrees, doesn't he? He was on the pod. He talks about it. He completely agrees. Thinks they're a shambles. They'll be struggling to make Europe really at this rate. It's just the way that it is. I mean, don't be wrong. Conference League, Europa League, surely, but I mean, they have no chance of making top 4. So you look at this, and there's. It's why we've all got loads of money, though. Because last year we all had Trent, Robbo, Cancelo, and James. And you couldn't fit any 3 premium players of the rest of your team, could you? But
not to mention Salah.
Of course. Yeah, Salah was essential last season at the beginning, and then it turned into Son being essential towards the end. But opinions, we'll do a bit of manager chat, shall we? Opinions on Lopetegui, then on Wolves. So we've talked about Wolves not really as too much of an option. Briefly, anybody, success or failure? Let's go with. We did this, me and Baz did this already. I want Callum and Sandeep's opinion on this. Callum, Lopetegui, is he going to be a success or a failure?
Well, we don't really know anything good, just neutral. Nothing too special, but not gonna absolutely blow up, I don't think.
So they're going to come 12th.
Get off that fence.
I'm not excited by it. But I don't think but because it's not exciting, I don't think it's going to blow up. I don't think he'd get it horribly wrong either.
Sandeep?
I mean, when they brought him in, the Wolves were rock bottom. He'd already got him out of the relegation zone. It already is a success. They backed him with the likes of 50 million for Kuna. So I think, and they've just beaten Liverpool 3-0. So I think the signs are looking good.
Yeah, I think we said we agreed with that generally. I think success in general, I agree with. Will the 2 more exciting ones? Sean Dyche, Baz, you first. Do Everton survive now under Dyche? Week's a long time in football, isn't it?
I said they were going to go down, didn't I?
Yes, you did. That's why I've come to you first.
So it's one of them with Dyche at the helm. They didn't spend any money. I still think he's going to be a big success, but I still think he's going to struggle. I still think it's going to be there. If he gets a few injuries to his team, I think the whole nature of how he wants to play, he has to flip it around. And I don't think it's going to work.
Deep.
I hated Dyche going to Everton. I absolutely hate it. I wish Lampard was still there because I feel like Everton are going to be safe because he's just going to grind out 0-0s. He's going to get clean sheets. And clean sheets will keep you in the league as well. He knows a few of those players there. I do think he'll have some downs, as Baz said, because they've not invested. Their team is weak. But I feel like he's just got the nous to drag him over the line. We were talking about this earlier as well. People forget that he got Burnley to Europe. He is a really good manager, is Dyche. And just because he's not the most attractive with his football, people underestimate him. But he is up there for me.
Callum, do Everton survive?
I think not. I thought it's just seems a bit too late, and like Baz said, not enough investment. The team's just not there. You get a bit of a bounce at the start, maybe, but then there's still a fair way to go, and I don't think the squad's got the strength to cling on.
I think I agree in the sense that I think their defence and midfield, I think they've got enough depth actually in central midfield, and I think they've got some really good experience in central defence. I just think the problem is going to be scoring goals. And that's the issue for me. If Calvert-Lewin can get on a little bit of a run, if he can get 7 goals for the rest of the season or something, I think they'll be fine. But that's where I think they'll struggle putting the ball in the back of the net, because Dwight McNeil isn't known for it. Iwobi's had a good season. But yeah, some Damari Gray's been the person who's been scoring the goals, and he's got dropped. So yeah, I think they'll stay up. The thing is, I think they'll stay up, and I think Bournemouth and Southampton will go down. That third team, I just don't know about. We'll come to Leeds in a second, because I thought if you hold on to Marsh any longer, it was going to be Leeds. But final one, Liverpool. Before we move on to how we were all marching on together, and he's now marched off by himself. Klopp. I did this when Cully wasn't on, because I kind of want him to listen to it instead. 7-year cycle for Klopp. Has he taken this Liverpool team as far as it can go? Or is it not his fault? Sandeep?
And every time I bring this up, Cully comes back at me all the time, but I still think no Mane, no Partey. They're just a different team without him. But Klopp has been unbelievable there. I think even Pep had a year off for Man City when they didn't win the league. I think if you give him just a year off, rebuild over the summer, I think he's earned the right to be able to try and rebuild this Liverpool team. And I think he can come back stronger next season. Whether Liverpool board will give him that much time, with it being such a results-orientated business, I don't know. But I think that would be the right thing to do.
Mm-hmm. Callum?
Yeah, I probably agree with that. But it's just, when you're watching them play, though, it just didn't look like they want to play at the moment for him, which is the strange thing. That's the only worry. That could keep him on. They should be really fighting for a manager who's done so much there and actually is such a great manager for Liverpool. So it just seems really odd actually watching them play and thinking it's the same manager.
I completely agree with both of you. To be honest, I think he deserves the time. They should stick by him. I hope they sack him all day long as a United fan. I really hope they do. I think it'd be a mistake. But Baz?
I couldn't agree more with what people said. I just don't understand why. We all know what the weakness is with Liverpool. Why hasn't he fixed it? That's the issue. Yes, you don't want to panic buy in January and all this malarkey, but they've got money to spend. I just don't understand this. I know they've got all this money in that. We'll just buy someone. Buy someone who's going to fix the job, because at the moment you're sinking ship. You need to sort it all out. For me, Fulham, prime example, Polina. That's who Liverpool need. One of them players, a young, well, he's only 28, but a player that can get around the pitch, contribute defensively, but also attackingly as well. And they need one of them players, but we'll not touch upon that one. Is he still there? Is he going crowd?
Who knows, mate?
That was the panic. They panicked and got Arthur in, and I don't think he even played a minute. But I think he should have time, but I won't be surprised if he goes.
The Liverpool thing's weird in the sense that they were still in a position of strength in January to buy somebody. They had the money to buy somebody. They're still in the Champions League. They still stood an outside chance of making the top 4. Spend 120 million quid on one of the best young talents in the world. If you want, go get Bellingham. If you can get him. If you couldn't get him, you couldn't get him. It's a different story, isn't it? But then you need to buy another midfielder, because now they're probably not going to make top 4. They're going to get knocked out of the Champions League. You just have to look at the amount of people that are interested in buying them. That's nobody at the moment. Like, Man United are going to best and final bids in the middle of February, and we've got, some classic Qataris wanting to buy us. They also probably own PSG at the same time, but who knows? But we've got Jim Radcliffe, who's a billionaire Man United fan, and we'd all much rather buy us for how much amount of money that is. But the Glazers will take everything they can get as usual. But no one wants to buy Liverpool at the moment. I feel like the guys that own Liverpool have almost shot themselves in the foot by not spending a lot of money in January, because the whole club becomes less appealing to buy if they're not in Europe. So, yeah, I think they've made a very, very big mistake by not investing in January. Let's talk to the Leeds fan on the Leeds season ticket holder. Did you actually buy your own this year, Sandeep, by the way?
I did indeed, yeah.
Woo-hoo-hoo!
Oh, I didn't get given to you for free.
Not this time.
Oh.
He talked to us about Jesse Marsh. Right decision, wrong decision. What the hell happens next?
I mean, 100% the right decision. But I'm not one of those fans who go, he was a disgrace as a manager. Like he wasn't. He kept us up, okay, by the skin of our teeth last season, but he kept us up. He's given us days like beating Chelsea 3-0. He gave us a day of beating Liverpool 2-1 at Anfield, which looks less and less impressive as the season goes on, but at the time it was fantastic.
Yeah.
So it wasn't a complete shambles from start to end. We did have moments, but I think the Nottingham Forest game summed it up for me, where I can get by us losing, but he got tactically outthought in that game. So first half, I know we were losing 1-0, but we battered them, and we should have scored 2 or 3 goals, right? They had 1 shot, 1 goal. It can happen, right? But we were all over them. Second half, Cooper made a couple of substitutions, changed the system around, doubled up on Nonto. We had no answer. And for the next half, we had no shot. So at this level, it's a game of chess between managers, and he just got outthought. And that's been happening too often in this season. And the results are showing. They backed him in January, and then it comes out, as I say, and that second half was just a disgrace. And if we didn't make a change now, then I'd I still really worry for us, and I hope we make the right choice. I don't think there's that many managers out there. We could have missed a trick with Dyche. As I say, I do rate him as a manager, but I think it was definitely the right decision, and it was time to go.
Controversial question for Leeds fans. Do you think that Leeds United almost rate themselves too highly as a club to have gone for Dyche? Do you think do you think it's a little bit of an arrogance thing?
100%. Yeah. It makes me laugh a little bit. So I listen to a lot of Leeds United podcasts, and I agree with a lot of the views, but some of the views where I've heard time and time again, we don't want to be put into another relegation scrap or another relegation battle this season. We should be good enough to be mid-table. From the start of the season, I'm always thinking we're going to be in another relegation scrap, because we've got, I think, the second lowest budget for like our players' wages in the league, for example. We've still got a lot of championship players in there, and our squad depth, especially up front, was just not there and non-existent, with Bamford just constantly being injured. So I thought we were always going to be in a relegation scrap, but a lot of our fans thought we'd be like mid-table and fairly comfortable this season. So potentially it was that, we should go for an abroad manager with new ideas, and it's a nice shiny new thing that our fans can really get behind, rather than a tried and tested proven Premier League manager that Sean Dyche is.
Yeah, no, it's interesting. Callum may have had to shoot off at this point, but that's okay. That is. So thanks for joining us, Callum. I know you've had to go now, but thank you very much for doing that. Baz, is it too late for Leeds?
I still think Leeds will stay up. I think they've got enough about them, the attacking wise. If they don't keep going for plan A, pass it to Nonto and see what happens, they need to mix it up a bit. It depends on who they get in. Cobra has obviously got a new contract with West Brom. They reckon the Bilbao manager's head front runner. Are they going to get Bielsa back in? I wouldn't like him in this situation. But I don't know. There's a few managers out there that might fancy the challenge of Leeds. They've got passionate supporters, and I think they've got a good group of players, young players, want to learn new stuff, energetic. I think it's a proposition that some managers might fancy it.
I think Pochettino is the perfect manager for this job. He said that he voiced it, and I heard it from rumour mill that he was interested in a club like Leeds. So let's hope for Leeds fans' sake that might be an actual possibility. I know the odds were quite.
If we got Poch, I'd faint.
The odds were 13-2. Yeah, the odds were 13-2 yesterday. That's 25-1 now, so it's never happening, is it? But they were 13-2 for a reason. There was a conversation, obviously, at some point. Sky Bet don't get these things wrong, really, generally. I'm still not sure if Leeds stay up, to be honest. I hope they do. I really hope they do. But it's going to be
a hard bounce.
Well, and we look at their Leeds' fixtures as well. Moving forward, you've got back-to-back games against Man United now. Obviously tonight, this will go out after you've played us. Then you've got United at home on Sunday. Then you've got Everton and Southampton, 24 and 25. They are massive games, especially Southampton at Ellen Road, because they're behind you at the moment. Like, that has to be a win. And then because Chelsea
behind us.
Yeah, well,
games.
Of course, they have the same points, aren't they? Everton behind on goals, aren't they? So, but Chelsea and Brighton, they're tough games. Then we get into Wolves, Arsenal, Palace. But those two matches just seem. I just find it weird that they sacked him after the January transfer window. But anyway, if we were going to get rid, and they gave him a load of money and whatever. But I know that they're coaches these days, not managers, and they don't resign the players, and you just have to man it. But
apparently, they started thinking about it after the Villa game when we lost 2-1, and then obviously this has transpired.
I think honestly, I don't say too far. I'm sticking on Leeds too much, but I know we have a lot of Leeds fans. I just feel like it's really bad leadership from Rads, isn't it? Rads, I just feel like it's really poor leadership and timing, personally. But I do think it's the right thing to get rid of him. But because it was never going to work, for me, the right decision to get rid of him was during the World Cup, personally. But
that's another worrying thing. Is you would think that you'd give him time to get his ideas across and we'd be a better team. And stuff like the World Cup and the break for that, you'd have thought we'd have come back after the World Cup break, especially because a lot of our players weren't at the World Cup, only 3 were. They'd come back, they'd have all these ideas in place, and then we'd come back stronger. And we actually came back weaker, and we've not won a game since. And we've looked a bit of a shamble ever since the World Cup. Mm-hmm. So for me, that's him not preparing them right during the World Cup break. For the restart of the Premier League, and we've definitely suffered for it.
Well, that's enough Leeds chat. Let's talk about Spurs, because they've got a good run of fixtures coming up. Let's discuss their numbers. I keep clicking on the wrong bloody thing. First of all, Leicester, West Ham, Chelsea then at home, Wolves, Forest, potentially Southampton, or a blank and then a double game week against Everton and Southampton, Brighton and Bournemouth up to game week 32. So they've got a good run of fixtures there, Spurs. This, for me, is their run at the top 4 after their momentum after beating City. If they do really well in this run, then there could be good competition for United and Newcastle to see who's going to end up in that top 4. Let's discuss the players. Kane, for me, must have in your fantasy team. I think any other season that Haaland wasn't involved, everyone would have Harry Kane in their team. At the end of the day, across the whole season, this is going to load for me, 148 points, which is nearly double their next player's points total. Goal involvements, 22, 17 goals, 5 assists. Phenomenal season. Who else at Spurs? Now, I know Lloris is injured and Fraser Forster's 3.9 million. Anyone that's wildcarding right now, Lloris is going to be out for 8 weeks. So that's a cheap keeper to put in there. Anybody else though? Are we excited by the new right back signing? Was it Porro? Is that what it's called? Baz, Spurs. Anybody else you're interested in?
Like I say, obviously Lloris being out, Forster an alternative if you wanted to obviously look at spending more money. You could potentially have a Ward and a Forster as goalkeepers. Perisic, Porro, Son.
I love that. You can't even bring yourself to say his name properly. Yeah. He's too expensive. He's too expensive, isn't he?
Yeah. Kulusevski, Kane. They're probably only ones that you'd probably want really from them. Defensively, they haven't really looked great, but obviously kept a clean sheet against Man City. And defended really well. Dyer obviously pushed. They played obviously three defenders, but Dyer actually joined in the midfield as well. It was actually quite interesting to see him playing that way. To be honest, so yeah, I think I'm saying with Sandeep, I don't really like centre halves in my team. I like wing backs because they can get forward. And that's why I'd say probably Perisic or Porro, Kulu, and Kane.
Deep, any advance?
I think Kulu's too expensive for midfield, where you've got already a lot of stacked options. Son as well is too inconsistent for the price. Porro's an unproven quantity, and to be honest, Emerson Royal's not been doing too bad. So do they get rotated? So I wouldn't gamble on that really. The one that stands out for me is Perisic. He seems to have nailed down that space now. He takes corners. He can get those assists in play. I kind of like the fact that he seems to get subbed quite early, like the 70th, 80th minute for Sessegnon quite often, which means that if they are 1-0 up, you've not got that last 20-minute sweat because he's already off the pitch with his clean sheet intact. So Perisic would be the one. Obviously, Kane, you need in your squad. I think it was a mistake from mine not bringing him in as wild card. So I think Kane and potentially Perisic, and Forster's really good value.
Yeah, I agree. And you don't want to double up on Spurs' defence. So you kind of either want to go for like Forster or Perisic. Goals conceded wise, expected goals conceded, they're in the bottom half since the return of 10, and they've conceded 10. They've conceded exactly what they're expected to have conceded. And in terms of goals scored, they're right up there in the top 6 with 10 goals scored for an XG of 8.8. So I really like Kulu, but I completely agree with you. There's just better options. That's all it is. I don't actually think he's that bad of a pick. If you want to go for a differential, I don't actually think he's that bad. But there's just better. They're just better midfielders. So I think you might. Yeah, sorry.
Just on the differential shout, the issue with the differential is I always look at a player and see, have they smashed some game weeks? Maybe he got like 2 goals and an assist or something like that. Kulu's never really done that. He'll get an assist here. He'll get a goal here. Okay, but he's never going to have a huge game week. He hasn't so far, so you can't bank on him having it. Like, we might get into Brighton a little bit later, but you look at Solly March, he just got like 19 points in a game week, but he's got a few game weeks where he's got 2 points as well. So if you're going to gamble and have an extreme upside, I'd go someone like Solly March over a Kulu because, as I say, Kulu doesn't have the biggest upside.
Yeah, sure. We'll just touch on Chelsea before then we're going to actually talk about Brighton just a tiny bit and just a bit more about form players. But Chelsea, 3 clean sheets in a row now. They have a decent run of fixtures, I would say. West Ham away next, fine. Southampton, Spurs away in 25, obviously a little bit tough, especially from a defensive perspective. Then Leeds, Leicester and Everton. I'd say 5 of their next 6 are pretty damn good. Don't get me wrong, the game against Everton in game week 28 could... 28. Oh, it's Southampton. It's Southampton 28. Krellin's thing says something different there, doesn't it? But anyway, the game in game week 28 might not happen because they're still in the cup, but then they could double in game week 29 if you did want to use your free hit in 28. Again, I'll briefly touch on fixtures because I spent a lot of time on that last week coming up. But I just read Spurs. What am I doing there? I read the Spurs fixtures, not the Chelsea fixtures. Apologies. So the Chelsea fixture is West Ham, Southampton, Tottenham, Leeds, Leicester. Everton in 28 will happen because they're both out of the FA Cup. So a good option again. And then Villa and Liverpool as a double game week, potentially in game week 29, because that Chelsea-Liverpool game, I think, will almost certainly go into game week 29 because both teams are in Europe and that is the allotted slot for a double game week to take place when you aren't having it directly against other teams that European competitions actually happening. So that's when I think it's actually going to be more beneficial at that time. That's when it's probably going to happen. Of all of those fixtures, I think only one of them is quite tough all the way up until that double game week. You put in Reece James, didn't you, Baz?
Yeah, I didn't obviously pick him because I knew he might either start or come on. So you're only going to get 1 point from him unless he gets an assist. But I'd be extremely unlucky if that happened. That was the reason why I got him in. Mm-hmm. Fullbacks is how Chelsea play and how Potter played with Brighton. everything comes through the fullbacks, and obviously it's not they're not fullbacks now. They're not even wing backs. I classify them as wingers. If you look at the average formation from each team, it's like a 2-3-5. Two defenders that sit back, 3 midfielders, and then literally 3 forwards, and then your wing backs are right up there. It's crazy how it's transferred that way, but that's why I brought Reece James in, because he was cheap-ish for Reece James standard at 5.7. And Chelsea looks good at the back. They've got the solid 2 centre halves now with Bashili and Thiago Silva.
Yeah.
They're looking good. I said to you earlier other day on text, Alex. I think it started to work out. They're the best 2 centre halves. Kepa is playing good in goal. Compared to like last season where he was shocking and Mendy were class, and now it's the other way round. Fullbacks wise, they were struggling because the first choices were injured. Cucurella has not been anywhere near what he was like with Brighton. James, Chilwell are probably going to start when they fit. Midfielder wise, it could be anyone. Regarding the wingers, because he's brought in 6 or 7 wingers for some strange reason I don't understand, where he had problems with the centre midfield but didn't really buy anyone. So Gallagher's been playing there and
played every game, Gallagher.
Yeah, I do like him. I do like him as a player. I've seen him at Swansea and he plays well, but he's more restricted with Chelsea. I think it might be the fear of playing for a high profile club that he's got the pressures of that. Whereas at Palace on loan, phenomenal, brilliant. But obviously, homegrown Chelsea player might be struggling with that kind of form. With that, Yao Felix could be a shout. Obviously, looked really good until he got sent off. I drafted him in because I thought I need someone forward wise for my draft team, but I won't obviously go out and get him. But yeah,
they've had 17 attacking players feature in the last 7 games. 17 different attacking players. Like it's a bit mental, really, to pick who's going to actually play. The man who's played every minute. The only man is Havertz. He's scored 2 goals, got 1 assist, 7 games.
I said that the other week though, didn't I? I said about Havertz.
Yeah, it's 7.8 million. You're never putting him in up front when you've got Haaland, Kane, and Nketiah. So he's just never getting in your team, is he? Even with that run of fixtures. I just find it really difficult. I just stay massively clear of all midfielders and all forwards for Chelsea at this very moment in time, because, to be quite honest, I have absolutely zero idea who's going to play and do really well for them, other than Havertz will probably play, and then you'll just see what comes. They can't not bring Felix on, really, but defensively, I really like if you've got Kepa. Brilliant, great situation to be in. Silva's the man who's going to play every minute, but again, he's a centre half. Badiashile seems to have that place nailed down at 5 mil. And then Cuckoo, you had your warning, Cuckoo owners. I'm one of them. Chilwell's back, came on the pitch. Get rid of Cuckoo. I don't think he keep hold of him with a good run of fixtures. I am that human who's going to be getting rid of Cuckoo even with that good run of fixtures. And potentially looking at Reece James this week. I might hold on to him for 1 more week just to see if Reece James plays and looks quite good, because I might like that sideways move to do that. So I've got not a keeper. But Sandeep, really quickly, 30 seconds on Chelsea.
Very quickly, Kepa, yes. Badiashile, decent value. James, walking injury, and Cucurella, I'll be worried about. Don't even care about midfielders and strikers because I'm not going anywhere near them.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more.
Let's talk 15 seconds.
That was very good. That's perfect. It's ideal. Everything we needed. Let's talk about form, because we wanted to discuss this, and we were talking about form in terms of position. I've brought up the form table. Now Navas on the form table already. Is that?
Played 1 game and played absolute amazing against Leeds. Obviously,
take that as a picture shot. It was against us. We're starting not to be able to score. So.
But this is the form table, the average score per match calculated over all matches played by his club in the last 30 days. So obviously he's come in and played 1 game so far and got 9 points, so he's right up there. I just want to say a quick disclaimer on Mitoma, because I made a big mistake by not bringing him in 2 weeks ago, and I was going to do it for Andreas Pereira. And sometimes you can over-prepare for the future game weeks. And I've definitely missed that initial boat with him. I could have got him at 4.9 or 5 mil. And I didn't bring him in because I thought I'd have too many players in that blanked in game week 25. And I thought I was going to buy myself a future problem. If a player's in that sort of form, they look that good, they're worth the -4. Potentially would have been a -8 problem in the end, which is why I didn't do it. But, you've just got to roll with your gut. And that was another mistake I've made this year, which has cost me.
Add it to the list.
I will. All lessons learned. Don't have 2 kids and try to play FPL. That's the top one, Sandeep. And then
Sterling captain this week from your head.
Sterling captain. Go try and go differential and climb up the leagues. Absolutely. But don't bet against the guy who's ridiculously informed. Just whatever. Well done. I'll pat yourself on the back for being a muppet. So Navas keeper. Ben Mee. Brentford. Anyone want to talk about Brentford? Mention these guys?
I like them. They have surprised me this season. I was hoping second season syndrome would get them down and Leeds would be safe from them, but they've absolutely smashed it. One thing I'd like to mention about Ben Mee is I'm so glad that De Bruyne came on in the Man City game and got that 1 point because DC had Ben Mee on his first sub, and I was like, yes, get in. So sorry, DC. I think it's a good shout from you putting him in, but I'm so glad he didn't come on the pitch.
13-pointer. To be fair, you benched him against Southampton. If you've got Ben Mee in your squad, it's probably a game you're going to play him, isn't it? But anyway, that's different, different kettle of fish, isn't it? Arsenal away, Palace at home, but then they've got a blank in 25, which kind of rules them out as an option again, because, their other fixtures is against Arsenal away, so you'd be bringing him in for Palace at home and a blank. It doesn't really make any sense to invest in Brentford at this very moment in time. So no, I don't think his form's going to continue. Realistically, do I think Matoma's is and other assets? Palace, Fulham, a blank. Then West Ham, Leeds, Man United, but Brentford, yeah, I do. I think he looks really, really, really good. Baz, your thoughts on Mitoma, March? Will their form continue? Maybe not March as to that ridiculous level of 13, 1, 11, 19, but. Do you think that'll settle down to be more consistent? What do you think?
Mitoma, I think he'll stay really red hot form. March, I think he's one of them sporadic players. Blows hot and cold. He doesn't usually get points, to be honest. He's usually a 2 or a 3-pointer. I said about Johnson the other week. I said I was going about dragging him in. Obviously, didn't do it, and obviously he's in form. I like Tete from Leicester. Seen it, he looks really good, to be honest. Mm-hmm. Obviously with Maddison playing as well, and Barnes, and Elaccio played really well as well. The only problem is the fixtures.
Who's that? Iheanacho?
No,
No. He played really well. I don't know. The last
Iheanacho. That's how I pronounce it.
Iheanacho. Kelechi.
Yeah, I'll say Kelechi. Yeah, just making up plays again, aren't I?
No, Nketiah.
Yeah, that's it. But yeah, some of them are surprising on the form list.
Just on Leicester, they've got a train wreck of fixtures though. Spurs, Man United, Arsenal, then Southampton, but then Chelsea. So, and then Brentford away. So they don't get me wrong, the fixtures look really good from let's not worry about the City in 31. They've got a really nice run from 28 if you include Brentford-ish. But Brentford, Palace, Bournemouth, City away, Wolves, Leeds, Everton, Fulham away, depending on their form. They've actually got a really nice run, Leicester, from 28, 29 to 35. So there are one definitely to keep an eye on. He's an asset to keep an eye on. That's what I wanted to say on them, guys. Sorry, cut you off then, Baz. Apologies.
That's all right, yeah, some of them are quite surprising to see on there, like Jensen from Brentford. Mm-hmm. Usually you see Brentford who's scoring high points, you think of Tony, and I'm surprised he's not bloody banned yet. Because I keep thinking, I'm not going to put him in because he's going to be banned soon. Obviously, not banned. So I don't know what's happening with that. Probably looking at each individual bet that he's put on. So yeah, there'll probably be 2 years' time he'll probably get a ban.
Jensen's very Ward-Prowse, isn't he?
Yes.
Like he gets that couple of bigger hauls, looks quite good for a bit, then drops off and does nothing. Like Ward-Prowse had he got a 9-2-7 at the very beginning of the season. Then he was doing 1-2, 1-2, 1-2 announcements all the way through, and then he had 5-5, 7-2, 15, and now he's going back to his 2-2-2s.
They are two season people are there, Alex, Watkins and Bowen.
I think. Sorry, Sandeep, were you going to say JWP?
No, I was just going to say on Jensen, decent value for 4.8, but I was actually going to touch on Watkins as well, but I'll let you go for it, Baz.
Well, Baz's shout, Watkins here, I think, for as a striker moving forward. Let's just talk about his fixtures: City away, Arsenal at home. But then there's Everton, Palace, West Ham, Bournemouth, Chelsea, Forest. Like, he's got... There's a good run coming up from 25.
Plus, he's in confidence as well. He's got 11 points, didn't he? Against Leicester.
8 and 11, 19 points in his last 2 games.
I think sorry, Baz. Yeah, just the big factor is Ings has gone.
Yeah.
Huge. I think psychologically, it's almost like, oh, my competition's gone. I'm now going to play really well, which is completely opposite of what you normally expect. But it feels like a weight's been lifted off him. He's not trying to play on the left or play as a 2. He's the main man again. And there's definitely a bit of that to it. I really like that pick, Baz, I've got to say. And my man Jared, after his 16, got 2 points against Newcastle. But that was expected, to be fair. He has got Chelsea and Spurs next to. But again, let's keep an eye on him. Forest, Brighton away is obviously not an easy fixture this season. Villa, City away, but Southampton, Fulham. He's got hit and miss fixtures, but I think he can deliver. He did last season. I like Bowen. I think he's one to keep an eye on again.
Another one to have a look at is Buendia as well with the Villa after the next couple of game weeks.
Mm-hmm. He's played under Emery. He started every game.
Every game, playing every game, and in his last, as you can see there, 6 game weeks, 5 game weeks, he's got 31 points. In total, he's got like 63. So he's got half of his points in the last 5 game weeks, basically.
Well, he only had one attacking return the rest of the whole season before then. Yeah, that was the thing. So he's under Emery. Obviously, he's coming into form. He's getting the minutes. So yeah, there are players to look out for there. We'll touch on our differential of the week in a second, because I just want to really quickly just have a look at the fixtures. Depending on Fulham tonight against Sunderland, seeing what happens there, will they get through to the next round where they'll play Leeds? And you can see here the percentage chances of there being blanks. Long story short, it looks like that Liverpool, Fulham, or Wolves, Leeds are the other game that will go into game week 28, and that's what it looks like happening. It looks like there'll be 5 fixtures in that game week, and then we've had the confirmation of the double game week, which means that Arsenal will not double in game week 29, but it does look like probably 14 or 15 teams will double in game week 29. It could be quite a natural bench boost in terms of a chip update. It's going to be a natural bench boost, or it's going to be a natural free hit moment, I would have thought, moving forward. But yeah, keep your powder dry in terms of what chips you're going to play, as Scott would say, in terms of what chips you're going to play, and just wait and see how all of the fixtures fall after the next round of the FA Cup, which is like after game week 26, I think. Yeah. So that was the chip update. Let's get on to... do you know what? I've done Cully a disservice there, because he's on top of the league. So, Cully, you're top now. DC's second. Sandeep, you're third. We've got Dave Byrne in fourth. Baz, you're up to fifth.
I'm kind of joint second, to be honest. Same point.
Yeah, less transfers, don't we? But you'll go past Dan tonight, I think, because he's Casemiro's suspended. So he's got... Did you say you've got Meslier? So it's basically Meslier versus Nonto. You've got Meslier and Fernandez versus his Nonto to go into second. So you'd be very, very, very unfortunate not to go actually into second place tonight. But well done to Cully for taking up top of the league. So deadline 11 a.m. on Saturday, the 11th of February. Early kickoff is West Ham against Chelsea. So that's the game to avoid this week. We called it last week, didn't we, boys? The 1-0. For the early kickoff. Before we get into some Saturday fixtures: Arsenal, Brentford, Palace, Brighton, Fulham, Forest, Leicester, Spurs, Southampton, Wolves, and then Bournemouth, Newcastle on the Saturday night. And we've got Leeds, Man U, and City, Villa, a Super Sunday. Monday night football, Liverpool, Everton, and then on Wednesday night, it is Arsenal against Man City, which is a humongous tie at the top of the league at 7:30. Do we do differential of the week first, Baz? You had a think about your differential pick. Who are you going to punt for this week?
Start with Sandeep.
Let's start with Sunday.
Yeah, I started last week, didn't I? So
okay, cool. All right. Okay, Sandeep, who is your differential pick of the week?
I think if I was going to go for a player that, if I was behind and I needed to catch up, and to give me a shot, it would be Solly March at Brighton, because Palace aren't keeping clean sheets. Brighton are scoring for fun, and he can blow hot and cold. But you would just hope that he blows hot this week and gets you back in the frame if you need to catch up.
6% owned though. Can't have him.
Oh really?
He's 1% too high, unfortunately. But But I think but so all the points you've just made then are absolutely valid. There's no doubt about that. Do you want me to go, Baz?
Yeah, can do. Yeah.
This week doesn't seem like he should be a differential, but the man got himself back in goal scoring form last week. It's Callum Wilson. He is 4.3% owned, and he's playing away at Bournemouth. So I feel like this week, Callum Wilson is going to be differential of the week. If not, I was thinking maybe a Fulham defender against Forest. Maybe like
go for Robinson.
Yeah, sorry, Martin. Yeah, Robinson. Yeah, sorry, mate. I've called you out for Fulham defenders, and you put one in. Yeah, I didn't check how heavily owned Ream was actually. That was the other one. Yeah, Ream 1.8%. So I'm going for Wilson, but if not, then my other random one will be Ream. Barry.
Double game week, isn't it? Game week. Grealish.
Oh, he's going for Jack. He's under 5. Of course he is. Of course, he'll be under 5. Well, no one's invested in him this year.
1.5% owned. Grealish.
Oh, Jackie Grealish. 1.5%.
I was shocked that no one went for a double game week player. I had Alvarez, Gundogan, Trossard.
Yeah, I don't see any of them. I don't see any of them really getting that many minutes. I mean, Gundogan might burn up his returns, but you know he's like Gundogan only goes off when De Bruyne don't play.
And if I wanted a single game week, I'd say Podence from Wolves.
If he starts, that is very fair. We've done we've touched on captains because we're pretty much always going to go for Haaland. So it's really we're all a bit dull, but he's just he can't not. He's a top scoring player in the game. He scored that many goals. I know it's all a bit. I feel like maybe we're all a bit hit by the media on that one. You know, they're still very, very good. And City at home have been phenomenal this year. So, yeah, and I do agree, Sandeep. I think if you wanted to go for another player, it probably would be an Arsenal player, and Ødegaard or Saka, or maybe Nketiah. Who knows?
No, I don't think you can put your trust into Nketiah. And just to mention for the differential, because I'm not going to give myself solid March because he's 1% over, so I'm going to go for Alan St. Maximum then.
Ooh.
Proper differential.
I really like that. That sounds like great fun. So we've definitely run over here, boys, and I've got to go in for my tea. So thanks ever so much for joining me today, Sandeep. Thank you, Callum, as well for joining, chipping in, and that was it. It was great. It was lovely to have you. Enjoy the Man U Leeds game tonight.
I will try.
Yes, so will I.
So I'm scared.
I'm scared of being affected by Bruno a little bit more. But yes, thanks for joining us this week. Don't forget to like the video and also to follow us where you get your podcasts from as well on Spotify or Apple Podcasts, etc. But you also get to follow us on social media on All in Football Pod, All in Football P on Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok. And that's thanks a lot from me. Good luck moving forward, everybody, with this week. Green arrows all round, and that's it. And bye for now.